Joining us right now is Arizona Congressman, Judiciary Committee member Andy Biggs. Congressman, it's a pleasure to see you this morning. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good to be with you, Maria.
So first, I want to get to the impeachment inquiry and what you're expecting from these public hearings. But first, let me get your take on what the president just said in terms of loopholes, in terms of the Democrats not wanting to do the work for the American people. You got a lot of things hanging in the balance right now, don't you?
Yeah, we sure do. I mean, there's a lot of bills. He's talked about the drug pricing bill, USMCA, all the things along the border, amnesty and immigration. They're not touching those. They're not touching the budget. We're going to do another short-term CR here next week, which will be for about a 30-day push. And that's a spending bill, you know, just a short-term spending bill, so we don't ever get to the budget. So there's a whole lot of things on our plate that we're not touching. So
the government needs to be funded by November 21.
That's correct.
A couple of weeks away.
Correct.
It's unbelievable. All right, what are you expecting this morning from these first public hearings for this inquiry?
Well, for the Democrats, they believe Taylor's their home run, and they really hang their hat on the idea that he felt that the president's conversation was outside the policy line. The problem for Taylor, of course, is that he's not a first-hand witness. He has no information himself. He's getting, it sounds like an old double play ball, Evers to Tinkers to Chance. He doesn't have any information himself. He's getting it from someone else who got it from someone else who got it from someone else. And so we're going to continue to see that they don't have any first-hand fact witnesses. It's all going to be hearsay. Both Taylor and Kent today have no information other than what they were told, and then they're going to offer their opinions and opine on that.
Congressman James Freeman here at the Wall Street Journal. You know, one thing George Kent does have knowledge of is his concerns during the Obama administration about the Hunter Biden deal in Ukraine. That came up in his deposition. Would you expect that Republicans would be asking him about the extent of concerns expressed within the Obama administration about Hunter Biden and Ukraine, and will you be able to get answers? Adam Schiff suggesting this somehow is out of bounds to discuss.
Yeah, that should be on the table. It should be everything from Hunter Biden and his relationship with Burisma, the oil and gas company in the Ukraine, and that dovetails right into the entire Ukraine corruption and how pervasive it is, and President Zelensky's promise to change that. But Mr. Schiff, as you said, is exactly what you said. He is indicating that he's going to basically try to confine that and constrain it. And don't forget, he's acting kind of as he's a witness, but he's also the trier of fact here. He's going to try to object and try to limit the Republicans' direction of questions, is my understanding. So this isn't going to be an open and transparent hearing to get to the bottom of all this stuff. This is going to be a way to try to find a post to hang an impeachment hat on.
Well, Adam Schiff was very clear. He said, look, we don't want the Republicans bringing in any information about the Bidens, asking any questions about the Bidens. We also don't want any questions about the debunked interference in the 2016 election. Congressman, I'd like to know what he's referring to when he says debunked, given the fact that we are looking right now at an active criminal investigation ongoing in John Durham's office and an investigation at the highest levels at the Attorney General. So what exactly is he referring to that was debunked?
Well, who knows what he's referring to? I mean, you're exactly right. You've got ongoing investigations with Durham. And I'm just telling you, I've urged the president, I've urged the attorney general, they've got to start declassifying some of this information and evidence that's laying out there. It would actually totally emasculate this thing. I don't know what he thinks is debunked, except for this is the same guy who said there was collusion. He still actually believes there was evidence of collusion that Mueller just missed somehow. And
he believes it, or he's just putting smoke out there to muddy the waters? I mean, does he actually? He said for 2 years, Mitch, that it was in plain sight. How does the chairman of the Intel Committee get away with that?
Yeah, millions of documents, thousands of interviews, and it was in plain sight. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. One of the things I'm interested about, just to go back, Congressman, something you said earlier, which is the cross-examination process. And do you have a sense of how that'll go? Because if you have a witness that has second or third-hand knowledge, but articulates it under direct as about, you know, how they came to understand this, in cross-examination, logically you'd ferret out that it was second-hand knowledge. Do you think there'll be an opportunity for your colleagues to do that in the hearing today?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's probably the one area that Mr. Schiff is not going to be able to constrain is Taylor himself admitted to Brit Hume that, you know, everything he has is hearsay from other people. So that's going to come out in this hearing, and it should actually undermine, because it's just not fair. American people understand that.
Here's the cover of the New York Post today. Guilty now for the trial. So it's like they have their guy. Now they just need to find the crime already. And I think the Post did that well. Look, the president touted the economy yesterday as well, Congressman, as advisors to the president reportedly are considering a 15% tax cut for middle-class Americans. Democrats are not going to be on board with this. The Wall Street Journal editorial board out with a new piece this morning saying the tax increases to come. It reads in part the following. Democrats these days are also proposing to raise the regular income tax rate, the corporate tax rate, the capital gains tax rate, the dividend tax rate, the death tax, and the payroll tax rates, while creating a new wealth tax, a new financial transactions tax, a new carbon tax, and a new pharmaceutical tax, even as they would repeal 100% business expensing and the 20% income exclusion for so-called pass-through firms. We've probably missed a few others, but as usual, the questions Democrats will not answer: should the top 1% pay half of all income taxes, 2/3, 3/4? Where does fair share end? If Democrats sweep the 2020 election, we are sure to find out, writes the editorial board this morning. You're talking about a strong economy now. What happens when all those taxes come into play if a Democrat gets in the White House?
Well, Maria, you thought the Democrats weren't busy. They are busy. It's not where you want to be busy. Well, they will emasculate the economy. The economy, President Trump's economy has got a solid foundation now for future growth and increasing growth. They don't want that. They have something else in mind, and it's the authoritarian nature of socialism that you see in this taxing, because you have to coerce people to transfer their wealth. And that's why they have just, I don't know how many dozens of taxes you just listed, but I mean, they're going after the heart of our economy by taxing. If you and Reagan used to say it: if you want less of something, go ahead and tax it or regulate it. Yeah. And that's what they want to do.
So real quick, Ryan, you're a markets guy. You look at markets and obviously try to find out where they're going. If we were to see Elizabeth Warren as the contender, and if she were to win, what happens with markets?
I mean, I don't know if it's as big a deal as everyone's making it out to be. Look, let's face it, on Capitol Hill, all due respect, Congressman, there's a lot of bureaucracy there. Things don't change overnight. And if you look at statistically, markets have done just as well when you've had a Republican in power, a Democrat in power. So I think it's kind of noise you need to avoid and look more at the economy, which is just extremely strong right now and can continue to be strong. So as that election cycle picks up.
So then you look at the backdrop. Do all of these taxes, I just read a litany of tax increases that they're proposing. Does that impact the economy, James?
Yeah, because I think it should be noted when we look at these recent historical periods where, for example, the economy had a pretty good run during the Clinton administration. Bill Clinton and a Republican Congress together ended up restraining taxation, actually cutting capital gains rates. So I think this would not be, if it's an Elizabeth Warren, this would not be a Democratic administration like we've seen in a very long time.
That's right.
I think it's a big question. When does that start getting priced in? I mean, if you're seeking to avoid a Warren or Sanders presidency, betting markets would say it's a little less likely than it was a few months ago. So that's maybe cause for hope on the investor side.
I think you make a good point, because Bill Clinton went to the middle after the first term.
But it's also the combination. Warren and Sanders both talk about more regulation. So it's not just taxation. It's taxation and regulation.
There's that, too. Congressman, before you go, final word here on the impeachment inquiry. What's the one takeaway we should be watching today when we're watching these hearings?
Well, you're going to see just a continuation of what we've seen, where Mr. Schiff, everything runs through Mr. Schiff. And that's not really the due process way. And you're going to see a missing, at this open hearing, you're going to see missing the President's counsel, which is a normal process, a normal part of the process. So this is not a normal impeachment inquiry at all.
All right. We will leave it there. Sir, it's good to see you this morning, Congressman. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Maria.
Congressman Andy Biggs.